It's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and 9 a.m. in Sacramento, California. And this is CarEdge Live for Thursday, May 8th, with your host, me, Ray. And, well, that's not Zach. That's Justice filling in for Zach today and for the next couple of weeks because, well, what the hell? Zach needs some time away. Justice, how are you this morning?
I am doing very well today. I am a little bit tired, but ready to do this. This always energizes me, so it's a good time to come on.
Well, I as you know, I am always energized even when I'm not. I am like the Energizer Buddy. I am Bunny, not Buddy. It could be the Energizer Buddy. I don't know.
Well, are you? I have a question. Are you energized because you were on MSNBC last night?
Well, may I say, I had no earthly idea that suddenly I was going to appear on MSNBC.
Yeah, there you are. Look at that.
Whoa.
The All In with Chris Hayes.
Yes.
And there you guys are. And what a great little unknown bump for us.
Yeah, had we known, I probably would have had Zach in a collared shirt. Without the hat, but whatever,
Hey, it didn't seem to bother them. They were okay with it.
Apparently, I'm just glad I was sporting one of my new spring collection shirts.
Yep. And we were on Good Morning America this morning too. Just everywhere you go, there is Ray and Zach and CarEdge and all that we do.
As they used to say in the early 1900s, we're kind of like horse poop. We're everywhere. So, yeah, I feel grateful that others are channeling what it is that we have to say at times.
Sorry, David. Fixed it for you now. We got to keep everybody on the right side of the screen.
Oh well.
Other than being on television nonstop because of how wonderful you are, what else we got to talk about today? We've got
what are we talking about today?
We are talking. I think the headline of today's was Toyota expects a $1.2 billion tariff hit in May, dropping profits by 21%.
Yeah, I think it was a $1.2 billion hit to their profit for April and May. Now, you know me, I'm not real good at math, but I believe that works out to about $600 million a month. That would be like $7.2 billion for the year. And I'm just guessing. I don't know this for a fact. I haven't spoken to anybody at Toyota, but I'm just guessing. They're not going to absorb all that for the course of a year. I'm just guessing.
No, I got to say, yeah, they are probably going to raise some prices. They have been raising prices for the last 5 years. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't continue to do that. Probably a little bit more now. And maybe, come to the bargaining table. I mean, that's not on Toyota, though. That's on their government to come to the bargaining table and see, move more stuff to the U.S. I don't know. I mean, you can't absorb all of that, and nor can the consumer. That is for sure.
So choices have to be made.
Yeah.
And the choices will be that the manufacturers will absorb probably the vast majority of the tariff hit. And that even if there's only a 5 to 10% increase in retail prices, when the manufacturers are absorbing 90 to 95%, that's still going to have a huge impact on pricing as we move forward. And I don't know. I'm just guessing that could impact auto sales moving forward.
Well, and here in our second story, and it ties into this very beautifully, I think, is not only do you have the tariffs hit, but you had sort of this pre-tariff, I don't want to call it panic, but like, hey, let's get out there and buy now before the tariffs hit. And so that is now coming to a 10% inventory drop. And I, being who I am, wanted to know, because sometimes I think everyone runs off on tariffs a little too much.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, but how much is the normal drop between February, or between March and April and May? So last year, I looked it up last year. I went to the numbers to look up the books, and we had a 1.3% increase in March between March and April last year, and a 5% increase between April and May last year. So a 10% drop in inventory is extremely unusual.
And I believe that would probably qualify as historically large.
Yes. I had other numbers. I didn't save them. I just looked up other years. And last year's numbers, it was almost always an increase.
Yes.
Between those months, between right as the spring selling season starts. There's almost always an increase in inventory. So this is the first time in the 4 years that I looked up that we had a drop, and a 10% drop at that.
And the drop, I think, is due primarily to the number of people that the tariff issue has kind of pulled forward into the market, who bought cars who would normally be buying cars in June and July.
Yep.
But they decided to move forward with a purchase in April and May. And so that's why we're seeing such a decline in inventory levels. But the more startling number within that is the average day supply of vehicles. What was it, in the $30,000 to $50,000 price range? Was what, 57 days or 59 days?
58 days, yeah, down from 71 days.
That's huge.
Yep.
You know,
and as Igor says here too, Toyota planned for this. That's why their incentive programs were all scaled back starting in January. So you got less inventory, you got the tariff hit, you got scaled back incentives. So my question is, what does this do for consumers going forward now?
I think it makes it more difficult for most consumers. And as a perfect segue, I think we can use that to bring on. We have a couple special guests today, do we not?
That's right. We have two of our concierge here to talk about that. We have Brian. Hello, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
We have Z here. Good morning, Z.
Hello. I would use that term loosely, you guys. Special guest.
Oh, very special guest. You two are two of our concierges that work directly with our customers, that negotiate directly with the dealers all day long. Right. So we are very, very happy to have you here.
Before we get started, can I say one thing? I am surprised at that there's no lumps on your foreheads from banging your heads against the wall, trying. Oh, you do have lumps. I am sorry to hear that. Two of them, because I would think that in today's world, the amount of times you feel like you're banging your head against the wall trying to either find the vehicle that the customer wants or get it at a price that is acceptable to all parties concerned, has to be the hardest part of the job. Z, do you agree?
I do. The biggest thing that we are finding is when we are initially talking to our clients or our customers, we want to educate them up front. And in today's world, it's almost hard to do that because the market changes not week to week. It's almost day to day anymore. And as long as we are communicating with them and being transparent as possible up front, that's the biggest thing that I find is the most important thing, is just educating people and knowing what the market is, knowing who to call, what dealers to go, what dealers not to go, and just doing the best you can with it.
And, to piggyback off of what Z just said, I think that a lot of the way around the current difficulties that we're finding in the market with the reduced inventory, or dealers taking the tariff price hikes and preliminarily saying, you know what, we're going to force these add-ons and, charge $1,500, $3,000 above MSRP, and we're not going to budge, that it can come down to relationships with other dealerships. And, we're very fortunate with our dealer partners that have taken our stance on being forthcoming and transparent with their interactions with clients.
I want to throw this out, and I know I mentioned before the show some areas that I'd like to hit, but I have one question before we get to those other questions. And have you run into dealers saying, "Hey, we're not really going to discount the current inventory we have all that much because we have been informed by our manufacturers that our cost to replace that inventory is going to be higher due to the tariffs moving forward, and so the savings for the customer is to buy now at this price, even if it's not discounted, as opposed to buying in the future at that higher price." Have you been running into that at all, guys?
Yes. And, to that point, kind of like what I was saying, they're kind of doing a preliminary buffering for future allocations, and they're standing firm on the pricing that is, rather than wanting to flex. For sure.
This is where I want to give a big shout out to our partners. Definitely not a plug, but I want to make sure that I thank every one of our Lexus, Toyota dealers, and any other manufacturer or OEM that we work with, or franchise that we work with, because a lot of our dealers, our partners, are still treating us right. They're always upfront with pricing, and they prioritize the concierge or CarEdge when we talk to them on the phone. What I tell my clients too, and I have this a lot, where you'll have two dealerships that are within 10 miles of each other, and the normal car buyer does not know that Toyota Store A and Toyota Store B are two different companies. They just think that they're buying a car from Toyota. One dealer can be, I don't want to use the term snaky, but you know what I'm saying. One dealership could be one way and another can be another. And if you walk in from the street, they look the same marketing, same clothes, same vehicles. Our job is to help navigate them into the correct area and the correct dealership to purchase. And so because of our partners, we do run into this, but when we rely on them, they have our backs.
Interesting. I should have been smart enough to think of it like that, because manufacturers mandate what the facilities need to look like. The corporate image of each dealership needs to fit into certain guidelines that manufacturer has come up with. And the reason for that, when you think about it, is because they want them all to look the same, so that a customer doesn't do what you just suggested, which is figure out how to differentiate one dealership from another. Okay, just because it says Toyota on the building, it's not owned by Toyota. It is owned by an independent business, and they operate as independent.
Two different ways.
That is really an interesting concept that I am certain a lot of people out there don't understand, and I applaud you for articulating that, because even I, who spent 43 years in the industry, I never really thought of it like that.
Well, think about it. If you walk into a McDonald's is franchise, right?
Yes.
How do you know who owns it, who doesn't own it? You don't. Because like you said, to your point, the corporation makes it to where they're all the same, and they should be. But Toyota dealer A and Toyota dealer B are two different. Like you said, they can pay MSRP at the one that we're partnering with, and it might be the best deal. but the other dealership might offer a $3,000 discount and hit them with a $5,000 add-on. And that's still going on to this day. They might not be selling them over a sticker, but the dealers have to get creative, especially with inventory shortages. You said that the manufacturers will absorb some of it, not all of it, and consumers will, but the dealers also are in there, and they have to get creative with the few units they have left. How do you get creative?
Well, you've probably heard me say this a zillion times. Automobile dealership personnel are some of the most creative people on the planet. And in the comments I have seen, I think that is a euphemism for they are some of the sneakiest thieving type of people. But putting that aside for a second, they're tasked with trying to figure out how to grow the profit in a dealership, and so they come up with, well, that there was that one dealership in Florida that had a friends and family charge of, it was like $1,995, and I always screamed, well, I'm not looking for any friends, and I got more than enough family. So yeah, there's a lot of creative folks. I can see Justice I can see on his forehead he's got a question he wants to ask, so I'm going to defer for the moment.
Yeah, I was going to ask both of you, Brian, what is the brand that you're seeing is the most difficult to negotiate with, even with our partners? Like, is there one brand over the others that you're having the hardest time with right now?
Yes, much to the dismay of many of our clients, I would say Lexus would be number one. It doesn't really matter what model you want. Lexus just is not sending them over to U.S. dealerships like other manufacturers. And then the next would be Toyota. The dealerships, the U.S. market, Toyota has lost absolutely none of its popularity, and nearly by a landslide, that's what most of our clientele are asking for. Rightly so, even though they're great vehicles, but dealerships are starting to kind of leverage that against the buying market for sure.
And then, Z, what is the easiest to negotiate? Like, where can I get the best deal?
I am having pretty good luck with Kia and Mazda currently.
I didn't expect that answer at all.
Yeah, a couple months ago, I sent Zach an OTD, an out-the-door price from a Kia dealership that had a $15,000 markup. And it wasn't even a markup. It was just like you said, low jack fees. Listen, you guys, profit's not a dirty word. I don't want to say the dealership shouldn't make a living. There's a lot of honest, ethical dealers out there still.
Yeah.
But you're not going to charge me $15,000 in a Kia K4. But to answer your question, Justice, Kia and Mazda are the best places. Hyundai too, to get deals.
Are you running into a situation, especially at Toyota, Lexus, Honda? They have the shortest day supply. Are you running into situations where it is, in some cases, almost virtually impossible to find what it is that the client wants in the trim level and color and everything? How do you handle that? I'll start with you, Z, and then Brian will get your take on it as well.
I'll give you a really quick story of a client that I have now. There's an 8.5-month wait on a Grand Highlander because they wanted a specific trim, limited with no sunroof, but captain's chairs. And they put a deposit down almost 2 months ago that our lovely friend Trisha helped me find. Shout out to Trisha, by the way. But the clientele was just waiting. And we've had the conversation. The pricing might change, and they understand. But 8.5 months is a new one for me. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that when a client comes in and in their onboarding information, they've kind of put that, they want a Lexus RX 350 hybrid, which is just notoriously over the past 10 years has been one of the most difficult vehicles to get your hands on at a decent price. That I have to go back to leveraging relationships. And that's part of my coaching with new clients is, you know, if they had their mind set on staying within their immediate market, it may be highly beneficial to widen your gaze and be willing to either travel or pay a little bit for shipping to work with a dealership that is a little bit more poised to offer a fair deal. And that goes, I would say, universally, that narrowing in on one specific dealership or one specific 20-mile radius really limits your ability to negotiate.
Are you seeing, are some of the difficulties more regionalized than others? Are there parts of the country where you can still get your hands on a Lexus relatively easily as opposed to other parts?
I would say so.
Well,
I
okay.
guess Brian's done saying
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
I also would say so. It almost doesn't matter where you go. You're not getting a deep discount if that's what you're looking for on Lexus, especially. It doesn't matter the model. It doesn't matter the color. Part of this, and this is just my personal opinion, take it for what it is. I feel like inventory was almost slowed down. So you had COVID. We went through all of that and the changes in our market. Then CarEdge was born somewhere in there. And what happened was that the manufacturers may have figured out, if I give them 10 allocations instead of 30, they're going to sell 10 allocations way faster. And then they will pre-sell cars that we do allocate to them. So part of it, I think that manufacturer may have slowed down production. And then because things change every single day, they themselves are not sure of what to produce, how much to do it. Now you throw in the tariffs. So we're just now recovering from the first 2020, 2021. I don't want to say it was a bubble, but call it for what it is. And now what they're doing is they're preparing for a new thing, which is the tariff, but not fully knowing what it is, because let's be real, folks, nobody knows what's going to happen. I don't know. Justice doesn't know. Zach doesn't know. Ray doesn't know. And so it's just one of those things where inventory is scarce. You can find good deals, but it's scarce.
Are you suggesting to some of the customers that want specific things that you know are not readily available, that perhaps they look at the competitive makes and models to broaden their search from? I mean, we know how popular Toyota and Lexus is, and we know that those vehicles are in short supply.
Absolutely.
So do you counsel people to go, well, you know, you might want to consider, I don't know, an Acura, or Brian's back, or you might want to consider a Mazda, you know, when somebody's looking at a Toyota. Have you had any luck with counseling customers when it comes to things like that?
I have. One of the other thing is that certified pre-owned. That's another avenue. So if I have a brand new customer who's looking for a brand new RX, well, a 2-year-old one has this, and this. But for Toyota customers specifically, because the brand new Lexus customer is different than a new Toyota customer. Different ball game sometimes. But to your point, Mazda, Kia, Hyundai, I would say Nissan, but we're not going to go there at the moment. And it is better to just be aware of what's possible, what's out there. And if they choose to wait, great. At least we educated them and we did our job and letting them know what's possible.
Go ahead, Justice.
I was just going to say, while we're talking about it, I've been looking up some numbers while we've been talking here. There are 80,000 new Mercedes in the country right now, nationwide, according to CarEdge. And there are 34,000 Lexus, brand new, in the entire country.
That tells you something.
Yeah, there's a very big, I know Igor in here, sorry I didn't start Igor, but I know Igor said great deals on Mercedes. Yeah, when you've got double the inventory, that's probably going to help you. Like Lexus inventory, even Toyota. If I go to Toyota here, I know that number is much bigger, as it should be, but
It's better.
brand new Toyotas. Let's see, what are we at? 293,000.
See, this is an opportunity for the manufacturers like Mercedes, because when people can't find Lexus, to Ray's point, we're going to switch to a different brand. But that too will catch up depending on how many buyers there are. You know, if Mercedes slows down their allocations to their dealers, eventually you do run through the supply.
I would also think that of the 34,000 new Lexi that are available, probably 33,817 of them are already sold.
Pre-sold, yep.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's what Brian was alluding to earlier too, saying just that, like, even the ones that you see like incoming are probably often pre-sold, which makes it very difficult to make a deal on. It was especially when you're dealing 34,000 in the entire nation, right? Brian, where were you saying you were seeing deals on Lexus? I'm going to just speak up, but I'm going to take a guess, just from the years that I used to do what you do now. I don't do that anymore. But is it the Northeast that you can get a deal in?
The Northeast, and really, I would say the East Coast is generally more friendly than, Central or in the Pacific area. Pacific Northwest is kind of a shark market at the moment. And it doesn't really depend. It depends on what you are after, but those really popular, highly sought after vehicles are extremely difficult to get a fair price on, for sure.
And just for the audience, when you say a fair price, what does that translate into for you? Because my perception of a fair price could be significantly different than somebody else's perception of a fair price.
Yeah. I think that there's some nuance to what I would dictate as a fair price, because it depends on the vehicle that you're after. It depends on how highly sought after or what the market day supply is. Like the vehicles that are the hot topics right now, the Toyotas and Lexuses, I think that a fair price would be, on the high end, MSRP plus negotiated add-ons. MSRP is a really good deal right now. Obviously, we shoot for getting a little bit of a discount below, but with such low product on the ground at dealerships, demand hasn't slacked off at all. So with that, on those vehicles, I'd say that's a fair price. But on other makes and models, that would be $1,500 to $3,000 below MSRP.
Gotcha. May I ask one other question?
Certainly.
Just so people can have a sense, approximately how many customers do you help a month?
A month, it kind of varies between 13 to 25.
Yeah, I would say about the same.
So somewhere between 15 and 25 is people that you individually are helping to find a vehicle, negotiate my God, how do you deal with those dealerships?
I tell my clients that it's cathartic for me now, because I've spent time in the dealership, and I've seen that Oz the Great and Powerful is not all he has made himself out to be. I can use those tools and tricks to leverage against dealerships.
Would you both do me a favor, and Brian, you can go first. Would you explain to our audience what your background is?
Certainly. Well, I have been a car nerd my entire life. Since I saw the bright light of a driver's license on the distant horizon, like at 13, yeah. I dug into the automotive world, and I just found it fascinating, and have really kind of kept my finger to the pulse of the automotive industry ever since. But I did work in sales at a dealership, and was dubbed a customer advocate. And of course, I thought that was a good thing at the time, and was corrected that was not the objective.
Been there with you, Brian. Been there with you.
Yeah,
Yep.
I can only imagine the conversations that your sales manager had with you about that.
Many.
And Lee, how about your background? Z, I mean, I'm
Z.
sorry.
So I have been a car guy since I was probably 5 as well, and could tell you silly little things about every little car. But professionally, I started working in the banks, teller all the way up to underwriting car loans. And I understood the marketplace of how a car loan works, how underwriting works. But also, I started helping people in the office just for fun, negotiating car deals. And that turned into a side job, which turned into a full-time job, and that led to CarEdge. So I've been helping people on negotiating fair deals for 15 years. And the funny part is I've never actually worked in a car dealership. I've only been working for the consumer. And so I just see the consumer side of it. That's what I've focused on and built my career on, was simply, hey, Ray, Brian, Justice, what do you need? What works for you? And then learning the car industry of the dealer, not from a sales perspective, but from a consumer perspective. And that's given me a little bit of a niche. Before I forget, I want to piggyback off of one thing that we were talking about with fair deals.
Mm-hmm.
To piggyback off of what Brian was saying, the fair deal is individual to each person. So a deal for Justice might be different for a Ray, even if it's the same car. Depends on when you need it, how fast you need it, what your circumstances, what your credit is, what your dealer is willing to offer. So a fair deal in the same car, 2 different people, 2 different states, even the same state, one might pay $3,000 more, but that's a fair deal for their family. And one might pay a little bit less, and it's a fair deal for their family. Our job is to educate them of why it's a fair deal.
Yeah.
Look on price. We talk about price. The bottom line is the most important thing, but also there's more to it. Of in your life, what's your circumstance, and why does it fit?
Yeah.
Would both of you take a moment to share with the audience what that sense of satisfaction is for you guys when you put something together for because what you do is you assist people in making the second largest purchase they're ever going to make in their life, right behind real estate. So I would imagine there has to be a sense of pride or a sense of accomplishment. So Z, we'll go to you first, and Brian, you can piggyback off it. What is it that you feel when you've helped someone?
Love what you do. Don't work a day in your life. I have made some mistakes in my own past with buying cars. I have bought expensive extended contracts. I've overextended myself personally, and I do not want other people to go through it. I learned it the hard way, and I'm very upfront with it. Shame on me once, not twice. The satisfaction is when you have somebody who doesn't know the industry, doesn't care to know, doesn't want to know. They're teachers, they're lawyers, they are daycare workers. They don't have time to mess with this. And we take a very difficult task and simplify it for them. Most people don't DIY when they're doing a real estate purchase. Some do. But to your point, it's the second largest purchase. Why not have somebody who does it day in and day out? And cars make a difference in people's lives. It's not just a transaction. It's getting the kids to school. It's going on road trips. It's going to the beach. And you become a part of their family for just a little while. And because I don't work for the dealer or the manufacturer, I'm not biased. I want to do what's best for you. And I get to do that. And if I have a dealer mistreating me, well, guess what? I'm going to walk my client out and myself out, and I'm going to go 5 miles up the road to Ray's dealer. And that's what I'm going to take my business. And so we don't take crap from dealers if they give it. We work with respectable people, and we get to change lives, change the industry.
Yeah. I completely and wholeheartedly agree with what Z said. And, you know, to the point of people have their own lives and people have their own stuff that they're going through. And, you know, be it kids on the way or a house full of kids already, or the house burned down, or I work 3 jobs and, you know, just do not have the time to dedicate to this. Not only are we helping them, you know, the goal is to save some money and to provide that ease, but just take that weight off of them, because this can get time consuming and can certainly, like what you had alluded to earlier about bumps on the head, it can get frustrating and stressful, especially when you encounter a dealership that has kind of what they're looking for, but the dealership is getting in their own way. So it's highly rewarding to be able to kind of course correct and say, you know, I know that we liked this car at this dealership, but I really want to save you the headache that I know is coming based on the red flags that I've been seeing. So yeah, it's accomplishment for us personally, you know, but it definitely feels good to be able to help out in an avenue that understandably people have a stigma when they come in about the car buying process period. But to save them the extra stress and strife that can be associated with it, for sure.
Very cool.
The type of service that we offer too, I'm going to throw one more thing in there, is a lot of people don't know this type of service even exists. I get that a lot. People will be like, oh, I didn't know this was a thing. You help us do the car buying. It's basically a realtor for cars in a nutshell. And a lot of people just don't know that we're a thing.
And legitimately, you are a buyer's agent, not a seller's agent.
Yes.
Yep.
Before we let you guys go, I know you guys got deals to make and stuff. I just wanted to bring up, Leo had a question here. Of those that you help, how many purchase within a month? I think this is much lower than a month, right? How long does it usually take you guys? And is there a time difference between the negotiation service and the concierge service? Brian, let's start with you.
Certainly. There is definitely a difference between the negotiation service and the concierge service, just because of the scope that the concierge service entails. You know, it's a lot more educating, it's a lot more coaching, a lot more hands-on. Whereas the negotiation service, the client has already found the car that they want, 1 or 2, and our job is just to interface with the dealership initially to get them to the most desirable price possible, and then from there it's setting them up with the dealership and letting them loose to finalize their own purchase. With the concierge service, it's helping them find the vehicle initially after we've met and we've discussed exactly what their goals are, what they're trying to accomplish with the vehicle, how it fits into their lives. And then, I mean, in some instances, making recommendations. They're on the fence between, you know, a Durango or a Mazda CX-90. Go with the CX-90, that type thing. But then from there, it's finding the dealership, finding the vehicle, negotiating the price after they've established that it is something they'd be happy with, and then coaching them through the steps of the purchase process. And that can take a lot of different forms too.
Wow.
About how long does that take, Brian?
So on average, I'd say between 12 and 14 days. Now, on average. So if it's a vehicle that there are none on the ground nearby, or it's really highly sought after, or they're in an area that is known for having dealerships that are difficult to deal with, that can add to the timeline. And if they have to, you know, get it shipped to them, obviously that adds a few more days as well. But yeah, 12 to 14 days, I'd say.
See, is that about right for you too?
It is. I'm going to throw one more thing in there too. It also depends on the client's readiness to buy. So I have had deals that I've done. Literally, I've got assigned in the morning, did the intake call. That evening, we're signing. It's a 1-day turnaround. I've had ones that are 3 days. I've had ones that are 8 months. And so with the process that Brian and I do, normally we can get the information that we as concierge need to do within a day or two tops to them, out the door numbers. I'm not speaking for everybody else, but typically it takes a couple of days for us to, talk to the client, figure out what they need, get the information to the dealers and back to the clients. And then it's a discussion of, are you ready? Is this the right deal? So 12 to 14 days, I would say that's average, but it could be quite a bit faster. It could be quite a bit slower. It just depends on availability of the vehicle and the readiness of the client.
Nice. Igor says we even helped one of his family members get a good deal on a Subaru Crosstrek in Vegas.
And that's hard to do, I might add.
That is hard to do. And thank you, Igor, for trusting us to do that. Thank you, Brian and Z. I know you guys got deals you guys got to get back to. We really appreciate having you on. I think this was fun. I would like to
I think it's a lot of fun. I'd definitely like to come back if you'd let me.
Yeah, I'd like to see you guys come back and talk some more deals and what's going on. Ray, did you have any?
I just want to thank Brian and Z. And mostly I want to thank him for explaining to the audience out there what the hell it is that you guys do and how time consuming and how difficult it can be, and how when you're doing that for a customer, you're actually giving that customer their life back so that they can be doing the things that are really important in life rather than having to deal trying to figure out how to get the savings they need on that next vehicle. So I can't thank you enough for explaining that to the audience out there. It's a pain in the ass what you do, and yet you guys do it with aplomb and niceness and personality, and it's just wonderful that you do it. So thank you.
Well, we appreciate you giving us the platform to do it.
Absolutely.
Our whole team, Ray, Zach, the entire team. So we work together. We're becoming a family, and the market changes every single day. We are here to educate people, but we are also working to change the entire industry and how it works and how people understand it. So let's keep it going, guys.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We appreciate having you on.
Bye, guys.
See y'all soon.
I think that was tremendously fun and educational.
Yeah, those guys are great. I love both of Brian and Z are wonderful concierge. We get so many compliments about them all the time over here in CS land where I live, where we get to talk to all the customers. There's always so many great people coming in and talking about them. I always love to talk about what we do here and how we help people. I don't know that everybody, I think Z touched on a little bit. Not everybody even knows what we do, that we offer those services, along with the free help that we offer and the insights, and we can just do it all for you. And I think talking to these guys is great, and learning about the market. I'm so far removed from the market these days. I feel bad.
That makes two of us. So,
well, Ray, I think that's all I got. We'll be back here tomorrow.
Do we have a special guest tomorrow?
We have a very, very special guest tomorrow that I will say the only thing I'm going to say about them is I've been trying for 3 years to get them on the show, Ray. For 3 years, they turned me down. And I finally said, what if you just do it with Ray? Just you and Ray talk. And they finally said, okay.
Wow. And who might that be?
Well, you don't want to be surprised?
Okay, I do want to be surprised.
I'll tell you so everyone can get ready to turn it in. It is the one who started our concierge program for us, Mr. Jerry Kramer.
Yay!
Mr. Jerry K, who's been in those chats before. So he will be on tomorrow. We're very much looking forward to that.
Absolutely. Jerry has oh God, as much, if not more, experience in the industry than I have. And that just indicates that he spent way too much time in retail automotive.
Yeah, as I say, he's been in it almost as long as you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, in it. So he's got. I love talking to Jerry. So it's going to be a great show tomorrow as well.
Yeah,
very fun.
Hopefully everybody will be back here with us tomorrow. Justice, thank you for today. And I am, oh my God, I'm going to have to put together so many questions for Jerry.
Yeah.
I'm
we'll see.
Forward to it.
Me too. And I'm sure we'll run over time because I am not as good as Zach at keeping on time. So we will see everybody tomorrow.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you,
Thanks,
Justice.
Ray.